back.
Thank you for coming back or rejoining us, everybody. Thank you for coming back. We're here for staying with. Thanks. Thank you for staying with us. That's what I'm looking for.
Boom.
Thank you for staying with us. Don't worry about it, Bilbo Swaggins. You're new. No, it's perfect. Upper left. They make a lot of fantastic music. They also make music as individuals. Denzel 2 a.m. is the singer. He does most of the singing.
Panty dropper.
The man rapping in that particular song, his name is Mac Rays. You can find all of them also on through our Instagram. You can they're linked in there, obviously. PNW Nils. They've all also been on the show before. So if you search that on YouTube, you can find them, and we're linked to their stuff in their episodes. Yeah. And also One Dot. Right?
One dot. RJ.
Yeah. So all them. Yeah, no, they're fantastic. I have to criticize myself to become better.
Amen,
dude. The only way to success.
I fucking understand that.
Yes. I want to thank everyone again for staying with us. You are watching us, obviously, on our youtube.com, Salt of the Streets. We also have our Facebook, our Instagram, fuck Facebook, our Patreon, everything at Salt of the Streets. You can find all this at saltofthestreets.com, along with our personal social media. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter, and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. Calling us a Big Bird Offie on both of those things. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share this content if you guys are into it. Tell your friends about it. We're trying to make a better and bigger show all the time. So make sure you also go to the Patreon. You subscribe there. You can get our newsletters there. We have the beer shows. We have the book clubs. We have all this stuff. The book for this month is, I should have said this earlier, is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This is the one for this month. We had the page and page, I think it's like 11.8 pages. So it's not too late. It's only 11 days in. If you're a quick reader, you can totally still catch up and stick with us. And we'll be there live streams every Thursday on our Instagram to go over what we've read that week. Then there's a review preview at the end. It comes out on the first of the month. It's fantastic. The only good part of Facebook is trolling the NPR page with my stupid top fan badge. Oh my God, I love that so much. That's so awesome. Good for you, Bilbo. Good for you.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Oh, dude, because I listen to the NPR podcast every morning. I think you do too. Up first, right?
I just got back into it. I listen to NPR a lot in the car.
Oh yeah, that's right.
A lot in the car. Of KUOW is our local NPR affiliate.
Oh man, so and how woke is it?
It's not good.
It's so woke.
I remember my first equal pay day. Yes, every year they have an equal pay day. That's all day on KUOW, and they continually just what you think to continually discuss the plight of unequal pay between men and women.
Yeah.
So the entire day it's equal pay day. It's all about equal pay. Because you know how we subjugate women in this country.
Like I wish it wasn't so easy to find, like, for lack of a better term, the Oppo research, because it's everywhere.
It's worth a DuckDuckGo.
You
can't Google it.
You can't Google it.
DuckDuckGo.
I don't.
If you think it's true, it's worth a DuckDuckGo.
That's true. Use a Brave browser at this point. Because you remember, I don't know if we talked about it on the show at all, but DuckDuckGo had made some statements about censorship, and they're on board with censorship. And now I'm like, oh, okay, well, fuck off, DuckDuckGo.
Oh, I think it's
now I use the Brave search engine.
Oh, yeah. I still fuck with DuckDuckGo, but I still have my what's it called, the VPN on all the time. You know.
Oh yeah. I will say it is still nice though, because DuckDuckGo is still pretty good. Like if you're looking for a document and you're not finding on it still works pretty well for that.
Or just stories that aren't from the big corporate media.
Yeah, the corporate fucking press.
I'll
enemy
always,
of the people.
If I need something from them, I'll hit a Google because I know I can find it number one. And if I need something that I know they aren't going to cover, then I'll just hit a DuckDuckGo.
Right.
Because that's the only way that I'm going to find it is through DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
So,
well, before we start diving into our fun little grab bag show, let's grab a beer chacho.
Yes. Okay.
You take your pick. We got a Saison and a Marzen beer, aka Oktoberfest.
Give you your favorite.
I do love me a Saison, man.
They're tall boys, so they're not going to fit all of it in here. DuckDuckGo still uses Google to search. Yeah. Then how? I'm a fucking computer idiot, Bilbo. You will learn that here. I'm not
supposed to be pouring this on camera.
I'm not a computer person.
So I'm fucking this one up anyway, so you don't get to see it.
No, that's okay. I'm going here.
I'm going to hide my shame. Here, I'll put you on camera. You want some wood? Yeah, have some. That's fine.
That's a good color.
That is a nice color. Yeah. It's not as dark as some of the Marzens.
I expected it to be a little more brown.
Yeah, most of the Marzens I have are generally a little darker than that. Kind of pretty close to the beer we were having last time.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, man, I don't know what it is about these Saison beers because they're kind of soury, but they're also kind of spicy.
Yes. Yeah, this one's definitely a little sour.
Oh, I love it. I love Belgian beers, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Oh, well, cheers, buddy.
Cheers. It's a great show. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This is such a fantastic show. I can't tell you how happy I am. This is my first, for anybody who's new here, this is my first show back from paternity leave, our first show back. My wife just had our second child. Her name is Reason, and she's a beautiful, beautiful baby girl. And
Named after Reason Penelope Tucker?
That's right. Named after Reason Penelope Tucker of the Donner Party fame.
Yeah, the Indifferent Stars Above, I believe. He was featured greatly in that book, which is also, you can watch the review preview of that on our YouTube channel here.
The review preview I got so heavy into that I delayed our show that day.
It was
because
so
I
good.
talked about it so much because I read that book twice in 1 month because it was so fucking good.
Yeah.
And so I talked, a lot about a man named Reason Penelope Tucker. Fantastic, fantastic person.
He saved so many fucking people, dude.
He made 3 different trips into the mountain to save members of the Donner Party. He had no family members in the Donner Party. He had no affiliation with them. He even paid other people who volunteered and then got scared halfway up the mountain. He paid them out of his own pocket for them to continue on the journey and do what they agreed to do.
Yeah, and we talked about the equivalent, about the amount of money he was paying them per day. It was like $115 a day.
A person a day out of his own pocket that he paid like 5 dudes just to do something they agreed to do.
Yeah, right.
Yes. They thought they were real, and they agreed that they would hike up this mountain to go and save people. And when they got up there, it got really difficult. And they said, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this. It's too hard.
Y'all are pussies. I'll pay you $115 a day, a dude, to keep going. There's children up there. There's women up there. Horrific."
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I remember too. It was like a couple months after you did the book for the book club. Rogan was talking about it on the show. He was talking about reading that same book, and I was like, "Oh, I know that one. That's a great book."
That guy and his brothers named all their sons George Washington, Lafayette, John Adams, so that they couldn't forget where they got their liberty from.
Mm-hmm.
And he told us, his family and his sons, everybody, your liberty is the most precious item that you have. It's the most precious possession that you have. Reason Penelope Tucker was America wrapped up into a dude. A short, bearded man. Yeah. A real hero, unlike the police in Texas. Holy shit.
Hot.
Bilbo's
hot
out here
take.
dropping fire. Yeah, I'm out here.
That's a good take.
Yeah, you can find that review preview. So you have one that you want to start the grab back off with. What do you got?
Kind of working off what we were just talking about a little
absolutely.
bit. There's been a lot of conversation over the last year or so about raising the age for this and that, particularly around purchasing firearms. And we had a case at some point, and I don't remember which shooting it belongs to, where some guy, I think he was an elected representative, if I recall correctly, was talking about possibly raising the age limit of purchasing any firearm to 25, because that's when your prefrontal cortex is supposedly fully functioning and fully formed and all that. And even with the arbitrary, let's say you stake your flag in that, you might have some kind of scientific basis for that. Right. But then at the same time, if that's what you're going to say is required to, that's when you are a responsible adult because your prefrontal cortex is fully formed, then why do we call everybody an adult at 18? If you wanted to vote at 16, you get to, and you can't even buy cigarettes and shit anymore now unless you're 21, which is also strange.
Fucked up, right? I forget about that because I was already past it.
It was a whole deal. I remember when I first joined the Coast Guard and I got stationed up in Alaska, they had it was like you had to be 19, I think, to buy tobacco products in Alaska for some arbitrary reason. And so you had a whole gang of military folks that you couldn't buy cigarettes at 18.
And you had to get people to buy them for you?
I mean, of course not. I would
never
do that.
Especially
I would never
not when
do
you're
that.
representing the federal government
God,
or
no.
the great military of these United States.
Exactly.
You would never do something like that.
I would never do that.
Death before dishonor, like William Wallace said. You would never dishonor the U.S. Coast Guard, would you?
Hard enough.
Never.
I actually do have I'm a huge fan of the Coast Guard and everything they do.
Yeah.
I understand that just like most military branches now, they're just as woke as anyone else. But, it's the only military branch that doesn't make a living killing people. They make a living saving people.
Right.
That's what I like to say. It was a good unit. It was a good outfit when I was in it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely changed now. But, respect, bro.
Come on, Nico.
Is he trying to...
Yeah. Class.
Oh, he's humping the dog?
Yeah.
The show dogs are in it.
Classless, Nico.
So anyways, on that topic,
yes, sorry.
what are your thoughts on the arbitrary nature of raising these age limits for whatever reason? I don't know. Why does 21 make it more okay to buy an AR-15 than it does at 18?
It's absolutely arbitrary. And I've heard, speaking specifically on firearms, I've heard a lot of people. Lucas Botkin from T-Rex Arms is a great proponent, or is a great example of this, right? He is maybe not a proponent of, but he has questioned the arbitrary nature of even 18, right? There are probably a lot of 14, 15, 16-year-olds that you could find in this country alone that are more capable and more mature, probably a better candidate to conceal carry a firearm than a lot of adults who are allowed to do it, even in constitutional carry states.
Yeah.
They just have the right to do it, right? Probably a lot more kids that you can find, not a lot more, but a lot of kids that you can find that are more responsible than a lot of the adults that are allowed to carry around with no question, right?
Yeah.
So even at 18, it doesn't really make that much sense. It's only because that's the age that we've decided that someone is an adult. That's just the level that we've decided.
And and like you said, what does that get you? You're an adult in America, you're 18 years old. What does that get you?
Yeah, the two things now, well, at least certainly if this is passed, right, if the age was to be increased to 21 to buy a rifle, then the only things that you would really be getting would be taxes like we talked about earlier and to be drafted like Chad talked about. So you would be, as we discussed, you would be fulfilling inevitably the only two things that are actually definite in life, which would be death and taxes.
Yeah.
And it would be death in favor of the state and not for yourself. So those are the only two rights that you would actually have at 18, death and taxes, which are not rights. Those are horrific inevitabilities that you cannot avoid.
Yeah,
in
you can't
modern
escape
America.
it.
No. So I think Bilbo's right. The only things that you can do is it's about control. That's it. Register for selective service. Yeah, and that's right. Get drafted. That's all that you can do. And a lot of things, I think this in Washington, I don't know if it's nationwide, but in Washington, when you register to vote, if you're a man, you're automatically signed up for the selective service.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to go to the actual website or anything and do it. There's a lot of shit. If you get your license, selective service, there's no question. And I think it's the same for being registered to vote in Washington. If you get your license, you're also registered to vote. And so you're also signed up for the selective service. There's a whole host of things that they give you as soon as you get one thing.
I remember when I turned 18, I didn't have to go into anywhere yet, but the internet wasn't to the point where, at least the government wasn't on the internet like that when I was 18. But I remember I had to fill out the paperwork the day I turned 18 and mail it in and then sign up for selective service, even though at that point I was already accepted into active duty military, which was strange. But because I also, like my brother was on he went to boot camp when you were 17, right? And I was on what was called the delayed entry program, just waiting for a slot to open, and then went to Europe and Russia and all that shit after graduation, then came back and got shipped off over to boot camp there.
And that's I was just going to say that you can do that, and then as soon as you get out, then you're just you're enlisted, right? Or you're already technically enlisted. You're just waiting to be.
School after you graduate.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting deal, but I'm getting really
sign you up at 17. Get the fuck out of here.
But then you can go over at 17, go get fucking shot up in a war, go partially blown up in a war, but you can't come home afterwards and have a beer yet. You got to wait your time. You got to wait till you're 21 to do that.
Or hopefully you get flown to another country, and then you can drink when you're there, but not when you come home.
Yep. Yeah.
And even if you go to a weird state, you can't buy cigarettes.
Oh, man.
Well, now nowhere.
Nobody.
You can sign up and be enlisted for 3 years and still not be able to buy a fucking cigarette unless you go to another country.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But there's been a lot of talk about raising these age limits now arbitrarily, and I don't understand what the point is. You're just assuming that after another 3 years, you're not going to be as stupid, or maybe you're not as attached to. I don't know. There's no rationale to me, and I don't understand why we're doing this. And I just see this continual creep where you're, like I said, death and taxes is about the only thing you could do until you reach, at the rate we're going, you could be 25. And when I was growing up, the only thing that you got when you were 25 was you can go fully rent a car without any kind of extra liability payments. Some places wouldn't even let you rent a car unless you were 25. Right. And that was the big deal. But now it's if we're talking about this, why, if we're going to change all of these ages up to 21 at the bare minimum, right? At the lowest age everybody's talking about, minus voting, of course, because they want to get the young folks. But then I don't see how you can legally call somebody adult anymore until 21. You don't need to pay taxes anymore. No, if you go get a job and you go work, then you're not 18. Why? Or if you're not 21, you're not technically adult. Why should you have to pay taxes? Why should you have to be involved in all this shit? You should be treated as a minor because legally in everything else, we don't trust you enough to call you an American adult that has the freedom and autonomy that liberty provides in this country. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm so tired of hearing all these arbitrary, let's raise the age limit to buy an AR-15 because then the 18-year-old won't go shoot up a school. No, but the 21-year-old can.
Right.
What are you talking about? What is this? This doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all.
And it doesn't fight at the core of the issue that they're referencing, that we're seeing all this violence and this aggression in all these young males. So that doesn't solve this issue.
No.
It creates another avenue for them to go. Like we talked about, a fucking Hunting 22 with a big old drum magazine that, not even a drum, it's just like, I guess that's still what you call it, but it's like a cylindrical magazine that you can fit in your pocket and walk into whatever other building that we haven't hardened yet, because that's what we're gonna just do, you know, if we harden schools at all, right? And I'm not trying to like start a whole thing or a proponent of that, but that's
I'm real mixed about that, right?
Yeah, and when we've talked about it before, I'm in favor of teachers who want to carry guns being able to carry guns.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a concealed pistol license and you want to carry a gun and no one's going to know about it, none of the students are going to know about it, then do it. If someone finds out about it, we got a fucking issue.
I feel like that's your right as an American.
You got to be concealing that shit here because that's the whole job. That's the whole idea is no one knows. Anyone could be carrying. You have to conceal that shit.
Yep.
So if someone sees it, then we have a problem. But if no one fucking knows, why does anyone give a fuck?
Yeah.
Pay for that person to get it if they want it. If they ask you, say, I would like to seek some training to be better at it, pay for that shit. I'll pay taxes for that. If you want to be a teacher, a good teacher, who's not a weird ideological piece of shit, right?
Yeah. That's
a
a whole other one.
Kids, it's a larger discussion, but obviously.
Oh, Bilbo, I'm really glad we showed up in your feed too, buddy.
Goddamn, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man.
No, I completely agree. It's very arbitrary, and the only thing I'd have to think about it very, very hard. But the easiest thing and the quickest thing, it's about power. It's control.
Yeah.
It's all just about control. We're going to continue to push the limits farther and farther and farther until you have to be 25. Everybody has to be 25 to own it, And now you have to be 25 to own any gun, And now you have to be 30 to own any gun because, that's when people start to have kids. That's when you're most likely to have kids, and that's when people really have something to protect or whatever, whatever the point is going to be then. Well, that's when more people have a house, so that's when you really have property that you need to protect, Yep. You can hear it now. You can hear any type of random bullshit fucking justification that's when you really need it. Well, most people say that they need it for self-defense or home defense. This is when people first buy a home, is when they're about 29. So let's just set it at 29, you know? I can hear it now.
Yeah. I'm like, I could literally hear that coming out like Elizabeth Warren.
They're just waiting until this step has been taken, and they're going to wait some time. And they keep going, There's arguments that Crystal is making, about, we haven't seen meaningful gun legislation here in decades, so there's no way that we're going to see guns get banned. There's no way that people are going to come to your house and get them. Oh, right, because it just happens like fucking that, right? I forgot that one day the Jews were happy, and I'm not even going to go down this road. I'm not going to go down anything. I'm not going to go down any of that shit. But everyone knows what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yep.
Anybody who's ever been disarmed. I forgot. One day they were perfectly happy and had all the rights in the world, and the next day they were hemmed up.
Australia.
I forgot. That's how it happened, right?
And it always happens like that.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. And even Sagar on that same episode, he said there's no denying that if we're talking about safe storage or even doing background checks for private transfers, you're talking about creating registry for all firearms in America, which was unquestionably the first step, or the step right before Australia banned all these guns.
Yep.
Right? There's no doubt that is the reality of the situation. She is not able to even see past the one step because it's crazy. That's impossible. It could never happen here.
Could never happen. And she makes you feel like an idiot if you are trying to take the other point. She's like, are you serious? My favorite line from that episode when they were going back and forth was like, so you're just like a full-on libertarian now. And he's like, I mean, maybe a little bit, for fuck's sakes. That's not what we're talking about, man. Just because I believe that our rights should be protected and not infringed upon, now you're going to call me a libertarian.
Because I lived in Washington, D.C. and watched armed soldiers walk around the Capitol for months at a time for literally no fucking reason at all.
Oh, yeah. That's
Guy doesn't have any reason to question authority at all, right?
Not even a little bit.
It's ridiculous. She lives and she works in the same area. Like maybe you live in a rural place. He lives there. He's telling you that.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. You're crazy. You're libertarian now.
You're libertarian now.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's power.
Yeah,
It's
I think
all
I told
power.
you this on Friday, but I don't see that relationship working out long term. Ever since she got involved with Kyle Kalinske, things have kind of just nosedived, and he just hasn't stood up for himself.
Yeah.
You know, it bothers me. But I will say, after that episode, I had a little bit more respect for him because
I like it.
he he didn't acquiesce right away, and that's good.
Yeah.
And it's important to do that, man. If you have friends that are lefties or they're counter to your worldview, you can't shut down conversation. You can't allow them to shut down conversation. You have to find a meaningful way to have a conversation with them and remain cordial, get your points across, listen to what they have to say, don't attack them, whatever it is, and go back and forth, have the battleground of ideas, if you will, over a period of time, and you both will probably be better off in the back end. If there is one thing I would love to do, it's give my very, very liberal friends I want them to take a second thought before they jump to conclusions because they have an emotional response about something. When something tragic happens and all of a sudden they jump to a conclusion, they say you should do this, we should do that. I just don't understand, blah blah. Pick your poison as far as the topic goes. It could be damn near anything. But to give your friends the benefit of the doubt, even if they don't agree with you, and after a while it gets really hard when it's only coming from one side. I'll say that much. But
yes,
if that's all if I could get one thing done, it would be to have a lefty second guess their initial gut reaction on something and try to think in a more principled fashion.
yeah,
If there's one thing I'm probably the number one thing I'm probably most thankful about after starting this show is I've learned to, I don't want to say think about ideas and topics and things without having to put all my chips on it and that's where I'm at. Remember we used to do the Hill to Die On back in the days?
yeah,
I am so glad that just by the nature of having our conversations and having conversations with our guests, my ability to put myself in somebody else's moccasins, as Dan Carlin would say, and try to think a little bit about where they're coming from and then be able to come back to a principled position that I know I hold,
yes,
and then factor that into it. And
yes,
it may not change my point of view, and it might change my point of view.
right.
And that's probably the thing I'm most thankful about this show is it's taught me how to fucking think.
And I think that's you're setting me up. I know you are setting me up perfect. So we referenced earlier, right? And Bilbo Swaggins, this was before you got here, but this episode was billed initially as the Women and Children's Show.
Indeed.
Right? And it still was. We talked a lot about women and children on this show,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll still call it that. We'd initially intended to have two guests on here, right? One of them, friends of both of ours, and one of them, a person that I know, from school. And I'm not talking about any of these people personally. I want, if either of you are listening, I'm not taking, I don't want you to take it personally. It's not, These are larger points at this point, right? That so we've had many people we've tried to get on the show, and we've heard many different reasons as to why they would not come on.
Yeah.
Some better than others, but it is what it is. It's not just these two people. It's many
Lots of people.
right? And the thing that's starting to bother both of us, right? I don't want to speak for you, but I will a little bit. You said the inability to have a discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
To have an open discussion, and that's why we put together the document that we start sending guests and stuff like that to lay out very clearly, we don't want you to debate with us. We're not asking you here for a debate. We're not asking you here for an argument. We're asking you here to have an open discussion, And
I find debates to be rather fruitless at the end of the day. It becomes like a pointless battle.
And especially now, when I'm starting to find, especially with people from the left, you start to hear a lot of shit. Lived experience and fucking these type of things that to me, as I take a step back, seem like qualifiers for a conversation. They're qualifiers, and they're intentionally exclusionary to particular topics, right? I refuse we refuse, everyone on this show refuses to live in a world in which you're prohibited from speaking about something that you've never personally experienced.
That's insane.
A ridiculous world to live in,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to be told, nor accept from anybody from a logical standpoint, that we can't talk about something that we have never been involved in,
Yeah.
right? We've talked about abortion today. Neither of us can have an abortion. I can get someone pregnant. I can never have an abortion, right? Men can't have abortions. I'll say that on this show.
Amen.
Maybe we'll get banned for that. Men can't have abortions,
What
right?
is a
Men
woman?
cannot get pregnant, right? So we can't have that discussion. We don't have the lived experience,
Yeah.
right? We've talked about when we talked about the don't say gay bill, right?
Yeah.
The
The
parental rights and education bill.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't like to call it the don't say gay bill, but I couldn't. Goddamn corporate media. I couldn't remember what the fuck it was called. So we talked about the parental rights and education bill, right? And we heard a lot of the same thing about that, of lived experience. You know, we're not trans, we aren't gay, we don't know about these things. My response to that is I have 2 children that I could very well send to public school. I feel that I have every right in the world to discuss what they could potentially learn in their curriculum, particularly that I have more of a stake than someone who will never have a child.
That's
Right?
That's fair.
I refuse to be told by somebody who could potentially never have a child that I don't have a say in something because I don't have the lived experience to discuss it. That's ridiculous. Right?
Well, how about this aspect too? The common term these days is stakeholder involvement, right? If you can have opinions if you're a stakeholder in something, right?
Oh.
Well, congratulations. If you pay taxes, you are a stakeholder in the school system because a portion of your money goes to how your school is run.
Even if you don't have kids, if you own
Amen.
property.
Yes, if you own property, or if you pay rent someplace, that property owner is paying into the system as well. So no matter which way you slice it, you are a stakeholder in the public education system. You therefore have in your world where lived experience and is a requirement, and you have to be a stakeholder in things to have say in things. And even if you're a stakeholder and you don't have a say in something that's wrong in their point of view, generally in their ideological framework, everybody is, because we all pay taxes. So in that particular case, you don't have to have kids to have a say in what goes on in the public education system, because you live in the community, you deal with the people that go to public school, you'll deal with the teachers that go there, the administration. If you want to have kids, you want to know that the school system that you're putting money in is doing that your voice is heard when it comes to how you feel the education system should be run.
Right.
Because just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you don't get a say in that, man. You put into the system, you have a say. I think that's just I wanted to bring up that because that's another point.
1000%.
That's another point that they always use is that stakeholder capitalism for
1000%.
one. And it's in their language. That's how you do that.
Yeah.
But-
So I think the conclusion part of the conclusion that I've arrived at with this difficulty of finding people to come on and have these discussions with us, people that come from an opposite mindset, right? To come on and have these discussions with us from a very open perspective so that we can identify what are the pros and cons, what points stand up. I think that a lot of these points from people that we're asking to come on from the left, right, don't stand up to scrutiny.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people know that. And when they're put in a position in which their ideas are going to be openly scrutinized, and not only in a closed discussion, but in an open discussion on the internet where potentially people are going to watch, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to make comments about what this person is saying. I think that a lot of those people realize their arguments come from emotional places and not from logical places, and so they won't stand up to scrutiny, and not a debate, not an argument, not a dissection of your whole life, but just a discussion about that standpoint, that viewpoint. I think they know deep down that they don't stand up to scrutiny.
Like, they can't defend the positions that they would like to defend because
it's because they're based in emotion and not logic.
yeah, they're. Would it be too much to say that it comes from an unprincipled standpoint?
No, because
That would be
that's
too far.
Because again, to use guns as an example, right? We talked about the last time that I was here when we talked about the parent of the child who was killed in a school shooting that spoke at the White House, right? I can only hope that if my child was taken from me in any type of accident like that I would be able to see through the emotion to what I believe to be the morally superior position. And that's not like I'm better than anybody, but the higher moral position of of people's need to be able to defend themselves, right? And I don't question anybody whose emotion takes that over, especially if you lost a child to gun violence. I don't question that.
Nope.
That's, like I said, I can only hope that I would be able to see through that to what I believe to be the morally superior position of people having the ability to defend themselves the way they see fit. I don't know for sure, you know, but if you're basing your argument in solely emotion, it's not based in morals. It's not based in any type of legitimate argument. Sometimes that's understandable. Sometimes it's okay. Most of the time it's not.
Yeah,
you know?
It's pretty unfortunate because you could take a principled position. I don't know what it would be or what it would look like because I don't obviously have that. You know, I'm not a part of that ideology. But I mean, if there are principled positions to be taken, like you should take them and you should stand by them. And if you think it's right, then you should stand up for that, because if you're not standing up for what you actually think is right and not just saying, you know, it's the in the internet age, right? The anonymity of the ease of anonymity. Even if you have your name and picture thrown up next to your fucking thing, like on your Twitter or whatever social media it is, if you leave a comment somewhere, something like that, it's so much easier to just write something out third party and just walk away because there's no real consequences there. You don't have to interact with the other person on the other end of that. I mean, we see that carried on throughout social media, obviously, just on the internet in general. And if you can't,
I'll represent my position, but I won't defend it.
Yeah. I will represent my position in a third-party, hands-off way, and then I'm not going to defend that for whatever reason. I'm not comfortable with that.
Nor will I put myself in a position where I might have to.
Yeah, and that I don't understand that. I can understand the fear of consequences if heard. But I also think you should be better than that. If you believe in it, you should talk about it.
Those are your principles.
If
you really believe in it.
You know, if that's what you believe in and that's what if you want to take a principled stance, then let's do it, man. And it's particularly as it relates to this show, our show.
Yeah.
We are never going to have somebody on here where we're not going to come at you with a gotcha moment, nothing like that. No. We don't debate. We don't debate here. I like I just said a little while ago, I'm not a fan of debate. I think it's kind of like
we share sources. We send articles to the people who are going to be on. They know what we're going to talk about when they come on here, and
we'll tell them like which avenues we're looking at talking about too. I mean,
guest leaders show the topics and even the subtopics underneath them.
Exactly,
it shows everything.
And it just does bother me that a lot of people are willing to just throw some shit out there and then walk away, and screw the consequences to that. And it is, I don't want to say it's morally wrong, but it's useless. It's hot air. It's empty. You should be able to sit down and have an argument, or not an argument, but a discussion with somebody that you disagree with. And, particularly here on this show, there's not going to be any hard feelings, period. No, we're interested in people's takes, and we're interested in finding out why people think the way they think. And then we like to have a little back and forth, an open conversation, an open dialogue, no judgment, just talking about stuff and trying to understand other people's point of view. And if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong. If you're only operating from a place where I can't be challenged on my ideas in any fashion whatsoever, you don't actually have any ideas.
Right.
If you're not willing to do, and I understand not wanting to have a discussion, but then why are you having a discussion on the internet? And that veil of anonymity that the internet offers, I think is, God, we've talked about it 1,000 times before. It's incredibly harmful to our society.
Yeah.
And I think you can see it in every day, and it's a big disappointment. But also, I mean, we watch a lot of Timcasts, obviously. They invite tons of lefties on, and they will tacitly be like, oh yeah, I'll come on, and then they never do. Mind you, I think that would be a much more, like a more grilling show to be on because they're really going to push you on your ideas. Mm-hmm. We would do that obviously a little bit here, but I don't think we go that hard. because we're interested in just having conversations.
And we don't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
No,
You know?
no, God, no.
That's it happens. It says in the doc, it happens in the course of regular conversation, exploratory conversation.
Yeah.
But it's never, like I said, we're not trying to gotcha anybody. We don't do any of that shit. And neither does Timcast. But
No.
but yeah.
No. There's nobody trying to get gotcha moments. And it's just sad because it is so widespread these days. I want to say, just kind of thinking out loud here, obviously, but I want to say the internet obviously is part of the culprit, but it allowed a lot of people to pretend like they wanted to have conversations.
Yes.
When in real life, if the internet didn't exist, odds are they're not having those conversations with anybody in person.
Right.
But
The deep political ones. Yeah.
yeah, the deep political ones. And nothing drives me more crazy than somebody says, I don't like to talk about politics. That just means that you don't like to talk about how society is shaped and how you like to live your life. That's what that means.
Right.
And because politics has a dirty word because, we'll put it this way, there is Washington politics, right? There is governmental level, horse trading and elections and representatives. That's not really, that's government.
Right.
I don't like to talk about government either because government is shit. And I think it's an absolute fallacy that it's a requirement in this state. I think we've talked about anarchy before, but I don't believe that anybody has a legitimate authority over me unless I give them that authority.
Right.
But to not be able to have any basis of a regular conversation about how you think life should be lived, I think is a tragedy. I think it is an
disservice.
absolute tragedy and a disservice to yourself.
Yes.
Much less society at large. Even if I don't agree with some of your points, you might have some spice in the sauce there that I want to add to my chili.
In pursuit of making the best society that we can live in,
Yeah. Yeah. I made some elk chili earlier this week. It was really good.
Yes.
I don't know. I had chili on mine, but yeah, no, that's
Shut up.
that was my thing.
I'm here for
that was my piece. I wanted to speak about that
No, I
because
like it.
it drives me nuts.
No, I like it.
I just wish if you want to have a conversation, have a fucking conversation.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we want.
And especially, you said with us, it doesn't matter for us where we have the conversation. It doesn't matter if you talk to us here or if you talk to us in your dining room. The conversation is going to be the exact same.
Yeah.
The difference is not with us. It is with anybody who comes here, maybe this environment. It's no different. You know, my take will not be any different. The way that I approach you will not be any different. The way that I receive you will not be any different.
No.
It's all going to be the exact same.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of why we're the country that we are. Exactly.
Amen.
Long-form conversation is the best way to get it was actually happening. And that is why we do this show the way that we do. So, and we do this show, Bilbo Since You're New. We do it every other week. And we have obviously other content that comes out in between. And then over the next 2 weeks, the different parts will get released. They'll get broken up and released.
Yeah. And actually, we haven't really,
Clips and stuff like that.
for all the new folks, just the way it generally works. Mondays and Wednesdays, you get a full part of the show dropped
Part
on
1, Part
YouTube.
2, Part 3, Part 4, yep.
And it goes through for a 2-week cycle. We're here in studio every 2 weeks. Monday through Friday, there is daily content dropped on the YouTube. You get, we cut these episodes into shorts. We call them salty shorts. They come out every day, Monday through Thursday. Friday's the beer show. Thursday is the Instagram live stream for the book club. And what else do we do? I don't know. And at end of every month, we have our newsletter, which we've talked about a few times today.
Sunday's family day, so it's always quiet.
That's right. Sunday is
always
family
quiet
day.
on social media and stuff.
Yeah, it's family and mental health day.
Yeah.
if you want to call it that.
The preview for the book club comes out on the first day of the month, which is obviously the review of the previous month's book and the preview for the following month's book. So, so yeah, lots of content, lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Beautiful.
It's good
So,
stuff.
We will continue with the grab bag. We're talking about Justice Kavanaugh. Right?
Yes.
Earlier this week, I believe Thursday, maybe,
Thursday.
we got news that there was a man arrested around near the house of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Yep.
Who? This is the story so far, right? A young man. I'm not going to say his name, but a young man who I think he was like 25, so he's super young.
He's a young guy from California.
From California, went to Maryland, where Brett Kavanaugh lives, and decided that he was going to shoot Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, because he was afraid of, he's 26, because he was afraid of what he was going to do with the Roe hearing, or with the Roe decision, and with firearms. So he flew to Maryland, and we're not sure yet how he got the gun or anything, if he flew with it or if he bought it. He had to fly with it. You can't get it there like that same day. So he had to fly with it.
That is a really long road trip.
Wouldn't be a surprise because motherfuckers be flying with guns all the time, right? We talked Madison Cawthorn last time before he got caught twice with a gun in his bags flying. He got caught twice. He's definitely doing it every time he flies. He just only got caught twice.
Yeah.
That's just how that works because the ATF...
The TSA.
TSA. Fuck the ATF too.
Yeah.
The TSA the TSA sucks dick at their job. So,
oh my god. And it's not a joke when they say they failed like 90% of their security inspections or whatever. No, that's just a part of control.
Yeah. 85?
Oh,
Nice.
hot dog. Nice. Good for them. Showing some gains.
On Wednesday morning, this guy was carrying a suitcase and a backpack filled with a tactical knife, a Glock 17, 2 magazines, ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, and what they also called burglary tools.
Yeah.
Burglary.
And I've been very unspecific about that, what that means.
The story apparently, right, is that he flies from California to Maryland. He takes a taxi to Brett Kavanaugh's house. Because of all of the protests recently, there are U.S. Marshals stationed outside the home of all the Supreme Court justices. And so he shows up, gets out of the cab with his items. He's dressed in black. I heard a chest rig at first. Now I don't know, but in black clothing. And he sees U.S. Marshals outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house and decides to walk away. Doesn't feel like he can accomplish the job that he set there for and walks away. He then calls 911 and tells them the 911 call has been released now. I've not listened to the audio, but the 911 call has been released. I've not listened to it. Tells them that he's mentally ill, that he came there.
The TSA training course is 2 weeks.
Oh, God.
That's right.
Oh, God.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. So he calls 911 and he tells them, I'm mentally ill. I came here and I was going to kill Brett Kavanaugh, and now I was going to kill myself, and now I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
And then he gets hemmed up. So,
political assassination of a Supreme Court judge was attempted. That's where we're at these days. And how did he get the address to Brett Kavanaugh's house? Because the activist group...
I think you can just Google it, yeah.
Yeah, you can Google it now because the activist group that organized the protests, the federally illegal protests outside of the Supreme Court judge's house is...
They doxed the Supreme Court justice?
They doxed at least one that we know of, Supreme Court justice, but I've heard that they've also tried to protest outside Gorsuch's house and Amy Coney Barrett and stuff like that. And which already is illegal.
Right.
And because you're interfering with justice at that point. I don't know if it's an obstruction of justice charge or what the charge is, but
how is it not?
If you are protesting
obstruction
outside
of Supreme Justice.
Yes. The Supreme
Justice. It's a little more authoritarian than I want it to be, but
so obviously the temperature is very high right now, to the point where there's a legit assassination attempts being plotted and attempted to be carried out. And that is not... There is no Supreme Court decision that I can imagine in the world that would allow that to be morally okay. I don't know. You'd have to, that's not how anything works.
We'd have to have like I don't know. They would have to decide it was okay to kill babies, like actual real babies, like a 9-month-old baby.
Yeah.
And they would have to be like, it's okay now.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah, there would have to be some real raw shit. I think Bilbo Baggins is a pretty decent point. The Cold War started, or the Civil War started, because of the way federal law was being unjustified to the other side, along with a few other key points also. And that's like a point that I think Tim Pool was driving. I was watching the episode this morning, right? He's saying that we are in a civil war. It's happening right now. I think there's a very solid argument to say that we're in the very least like a soft civil war, because no one's dying yet, because
some people are.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We had the Trump supporter that was shot like 2020. So I guess that's not true.
How many people died during the Great Summer of Love?
Right.
A lot. I mean, we're talking 2 digits, but still, that's way more than that should be allowed.
I would have to think really hard about the way to qualify that, right? Because there aren't 2 organized armed forces that are fighting each other, right? There are definitely armed factions. There are many armed factions that are getting after each other for many different reasons. So I would say there's a very good argument for us being in a soft civil war right now, right? And we've talked about the civil divorce a few times.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And Jordan's asked me about that a few times, just in the last few weeks. So I
The old
said that to
national
her.
divorce.
Yeah, Trenton too. I've been talking to him about that. He wasn't sure what I was talking about. Trenton's eyes are opening up to a lot of stuff, so he's been asking about a lot of things. And then I told him, I said, I think that we might be at a good time now to amicably try and decide that we should be maybe 3 or 4 different places before it starts to get really bad, and it's decided by warfare. I think that now would be a better time to decide that than to just let it progress until we have Americans killing Americans again in really rapid numbers, to choose where those lines are.
Yeah. No, that's
And it's scary, and people don't like to think that way, and that's okay. But if things are going to continue down this same type of divisive, chaotic route, people will die in mass numbers.
Yeah.
For whether it's done by the government or it is just open violence that's happening because of politics and disagreements. It's not good either way.
Yeah. And it's also important to remember that everybody's kind of colloquial understanding of what a civil war looks like is not the typical civil war. Our American Civil War was very atypical when it comes to the grand spectrum of what civil wars generally are. And it's usually, I mean, you look at civil wars that break out in like African nations, very common in a couple places. When you look at, say, like Mogadishu, that whole involvement that we had there, these are armed militant groups fighting against the government in those places. There's all sorts of
Syria, Rwanda. There's no shortage of African countries in which there have been
exactly.
numerous civil
For some
wars.
reason, I got
No,
Black
you're
Hawk
fine.
Down. That's good.
We're in part
Great
4.
movie.
It's been a few weeks. You're
Right.
good. I got you. I got you.
Don't worry, we're back in Somalia again.
Yeah,
We are back in Somalia again. Yeah, actually, yeah. Biden just sent more troops there.
So we had the troops killed in Somalia during Trump.
Yep.
And that was where all the regular of us were like, I'm sorry, we're in fucking Somalia? Like, what the fuck is that about?
Amen.
And they're like, oh, no, it's just a couple guys. Don't worry about it.
It's just a couple.
We're
guys.
not really there. We're just
Yeah.
hanging out. you
Just
know?
like we're not in Ukraine, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you try to convince me otherwise. But yeah, I think people's conception of what a civil war is, I think is skewed, because I think a civil war is by nature handled on a societal level. It's not necessarily governmental level. When it becomes the standard civil war is when there are two governments or two governing bodies
Right,
that wage war
right.
against each other in some formal fashion. But realistically, that's not how most civil wars work. It's armed militant groups attacking other armed militant groups, and
Right.
it is strife within the society. It is a civil war, and it may not be open warfare at this point, but I cannot, when one group of people, one ideological, driven by ideology, one group of people are forcefully, through governmental means and through law enforcement means, removing and restricting the rights of another group of citizens that are not them.
Right.
That is
On a
civil
partisan
war.
basis.
100%.
And-
If you're
yeah.
not part of our club and you don't believe exactly the way we do, we're going to come down on you. We're going to throw you in jail. We're going to try to make it illegal for you to do all the things that you want to do, that you normally can do. And this thing that we have called the Constitution, that we don't care about that anymore. We don't think the democracy has spoken and said it's not for us anymore.
You can't even sue if a federal agent infringes on you.
Yeah.
Not
And that's
not unless we say so.
amen. And if that's not civil war, I don't know what is.
No, and I think that's a really good point, because at the same time, I'm not going to qualify it, but at the same time that this is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
That what I think you could really argue is a legitimate beginning of a civil war
Yeah.
while this is happening. The left, the dominant in power Democrats, are arguing that the real civil war they defeated on January 6th. Right?
Yeah.
That was the real attempt at civil war, was when there was an organized attempt to overthrow democracy. That was an attempt at civil war.
Democracy.
That was it, right? Even though we have the FBI ruled, and I have documents here, I have the report and everything. The FBI, when they did their investigation, they said 95% of it was unorganized.
Yeah.
There's 5% maybe between the Proud Boys and the Oath Seekers that was organized, but even then, they didn't have a plan for what they were going to do when they got inside.
No.
They just had a plan to get inside.
Yeah.
But now we're having public hearings, right? They're totally underway. We had the first day on Thursday, another day on Monday, and then 4 days of private hearings in which we're going to lay out how horrific the organized plot was to try and overthrow our democracy. They've said that. They already said that, right? That's their intent. It's...
Maybe I do have my notes.
Oh.
Maybe.
Oh.
Oh, nope. Here, I'm going to do this so I can see
There you go.
rifle around my bag.
Yeah. No, and
Paper
it's gaslighting, right? To tell you that this civil war isn't happening because the other one they already got rid of. 529. That's right. I think that's a great... May 29th. I think that's a great point that was hearing yesterday on Timcast. Yeah.
Here we go.
There you go. You do have them.
We got some paper notes, everybody.
Paper notes from work?
We're legit. Liz Cheney.
Yes.
Because she's the ranking Republican on the committee. I think we'll just kind of shift into Jan 6 talk. I think that kind of naturally works its way in there. But yeah, Liz Cheney is kind of she's the leading Republican, one of I believe two on the committee. And
yes, on the committee.
They laid out. They said they will, and take this with a grain of salt because they said the same shit during the impeachment trials that they were going to lay out how this happened, and here's a bullet point plan of this is why we should impeach, blah blah blah. So they're going to lay out a 7-point plan to overturn. Well, they're going to show that there was a 7-point plan to overturn the election, and that Trump oversaw and coordinated. That's what they're going to attempt to prove during these hearings.
Even though the FBI has already proven or already said through their investigation that both of those things are false.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why I say take it with a grain of salt because they said the same thing. Fucking, what's his name? Adam Schiff said the same thing during the last impeachment trial, and then they had nothing. So I don't trust that they actually have the goods here. They're just going to try to prove it through narrative. But from what I gathered through the first
right
hearing.
after the primaries, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
imagine that.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, the timing is way too convenient to take with any seriousness.
Just like all these arrests that just happened, right? Who was the GOP candidate for governor in Michigan was arrested Thursday morning on misdemeanor charges.
Again, to talk about Civil War, 4 misdemeanor charges. Somebody that is running for office, a GOP front runner, so a front running candidate of the opposite party has been arrested for his connection to January 6th, supposedly. Now, they may attempt to prove his guilt or something like that.
Days. The average sentence for people being arrested for January 6th is 45 days.
Yes.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about some fucking bullshit.
They tried to overthrow the government. We got to give them 45 days.
Except for the people that are locked up in solitary.
Am I to understand that the most armed subset of the most armed populace in the world tried to overthrow a government without any arms?
Yes.
0 guns.
0 guns were used.
The only person who died, shot by the Secret Service.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that fucking weird?
The only person that died via violence was a protester or rioter. If you want to get really legit, like I will say that this was a riot. This was 100% a riot, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I watched the whole thing go down. If that's not a fucking riot.
I was literally at home watching it. I went home for lunch, and Jordan had an appointment or something, and so I happened to be at home.
Man.
I turned off Dax's movie. I turned on the news because I got some type of notification on my phone. Started watching, and I was like, what the fuck is happening here? So I stayed at home for over an hour just watching TV because I couldn't fucking believe what I was watching.
Yeah. It was a wild deal, man. And obviously, not a good look for America. It was a bad deal. I think we can all say that, like, you shouldn't be going up there and that was bad. That was bad. And I hate that.
Of course we don't support. If you're not going to do it, I don't support it.
Exactly.
If you're not going to do it, I don't support it. If you're going to pussyfoot about it, then fuck you. I don't support what you did. All you did was cause a bunch of fucking problems, got yourself hemmed up, you're fucking costing me tax money. I don't give a shit about that.
Yep.
If you're going to do it, then do it. And I said that same day. If you're going to get the fuck after it because you think it's the right thing to do, I'm down. If you're just here to fuck around, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out then. If you're not here, if you're here to pussyfoot, then get the fuck out. I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to overthrow it, then overthrow it. Let's reset the bitch. But if you're not going to do it, then get the fuck out. Why are you even here?
Yeah.
Because you want to yell? Because you want to punch some motherfuckers in the face? Get the fuck out of here. You want to steal a podium? Get out of here. Get out of here, bro.
Still the best picture ever taken in
Yeah,
Jan 6. That
I don't
motherfucker.
care. I'm not doing it's ridiculous. If you
And it
want
was.
to do it, then do it. I stand up for the message of what they did. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for it.
And that's actually
Fuck this bullshit. You guys fucked around. I don't care about that.
Yeah, there was a bunch of dumbass bullshit that
You're
happened.
pussies. That's pussy.
But the excuses we hear about anybody that was at the rally or even around the Capitol that got let in by the police and all this stuff, none of those people, like these grannies that are getting hemmed up and like thrown in jail and some shit for just walking in the door as somebody, that
There was a cop from here. We've had cops from Washington State get arrested.
Yeah.
And brought to the Capitol.
Remember that gal up in Alaska? They broke in the door, they arrested her and found out it was the wrong person.
Yes.
Like this stuff has gotten that right there. If that's not civil war, I don't know what is, man.
The guy from Michigan, they raided his house.
Yes, they
That
raided
GOP
his house
they
for
raided his
4
house.
misdemeanor charges, none of which include actual violence. I think there was like attempted, I can't remember the charges
Like
at this
attempted
point.
assault on like a peace officer or something.
Yeah.
Like maybe because he was in it.
Because he was near.
Excuse me. Get the fuck
Or
out
he
of here.
like one of the guys was like climbing up a piece of architectural, as they call it, an architectural feature, and he held onto the back of him so that he didn't fall or whatever. And so they're hemming him up. This dude is the front runner for the GOP in Michigan. You tell me that's not a political arrest. You convince me that it's not. For what? For a riot that got out of hand, or by definition, a riot is out of hand. But you had a massive riot, and everybody got pulled out.
They let it get out of hand.
They asked for it, man. There was,
They chose to not reinforce.
I forget who asked for more security, and they were denied.
It was the mayor. There was the Secret Service or the Capitol Police asked for additional resources, and then eventually the mayor of DC also asked for them, and then said, "No, we don't need it," or was offered it and said, "No, we don't need it." That's what it was. She was offered additional security, and she said no, and the Capitol Police asked for it, and they were denied it.
Yeah, you tell me they weren't asking for that, because it would have been a great piece of political fodder to use, and boy, howdy, did they get what they asked for.
Because they know Donald Trump is going to say some stupid shit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when does he not? That's the whole
They
thing
just
about
know he's going to
T-Dog.
say some stupid shit. He just says stupid shit.
Yeah, he says stupid shit, and they know they can get him on it because he says something stupid, and they're like, okay, well, that obviously caused it.
Chop this shit up, and we're going to fucking release it. Send it, boys. Send it. It's chopped up. Send it. We cut the second half off of his statement. Send it. We're ready to go.
Constantly.
Fantastic people on both sides. Send it.
Send it.
Send it. Clip is done. Send it. We're done here. There's nothing else. Nothing else that's relevant. Send it.
Send it.
Yeah.
So I'm not on, like, even the commentary boys, man, have been hard on for the Jan 6 committee because they're like, they want the truth. They want to know what happened. And there's this time period where apparently nobody really knew where Trump was or what he was doing. Anything. There's like a few hours there where everybody wants answers. I mean,
I'm getting high for the first time ever. This shit is crazy.
Exactly.
Like, I did not know it was going to be like this, but this is crazy.
What the shit?
Where's the presidential weed garden? This is insane, he says.
Bro, if I was president, that rose garden would be replaced.
Yeah.
With
There's
something
at least
a little
couple
bit more
plants just chilling on the inside.
Yeah, more friendly to capitalism.
So anyway, my biggest concern, right, I think speaks to Bilbo Swaggins's point, is my biggest concern is that if we are in this civil war, and I told you this as soon as I saw the GOP guy from Michigan get him, right, that this is really starting to make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That it's starting to seem like they're just widening the net, right? And my concern is that they're going to keep arresting everybody who's involved with January 6th in really any capacity. And then they're going to kind of redefine and expand what involvement means.
Yeah.
And that's going to just kind of grow and grow and grow. And it will turn from January 6th to involved in the attempt to overthrow the democracy, and then involved in the domestic terrorism that took place on January 6th. And then we all know that that definition of domestic terrorism is real muddy right now.
Real
right?
loose.
We've talked about the people they're considering domestic violent extremists, the parents that are protesting about the books that are being put in their children's libraries, the parents that are protesting, their daughters being raped or sexually assaulted in schools. Those are the people that are currently defined as domestic violent extremists.
Yep.
So
that's what worries me the most.
Very concerned about this, the way that this is turning out. And On this show, we don't like to be super conspiratorial. That's how the third R word took power.
I don't understand what that
Third
means.
Reich.
Oh, word, yeah.
So it's very concerning to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Loud and proud.
Honest question.
Yes.
I remember shortly after January 6th, they were talking about spreading the jurisdiction of the Capitol Police.
Yes.
Wide. Whatever happened with that?
I'm fairly sure they did it. I'm fairly sure. I believe now there are offices in multiple cities throughout the nation now.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So we would have to fact check that for sure.
100%.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. So that's, and like I said, we don't like to be too conspiratorial on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We'll obviously tour with it, but even being hesitant of that, right? That's how this shit happens.
Yeah.
That's how things like this happen that Bilbo Swaggins is talking about, that we've expanded what the definition of these things. Anybody who's a domestic violent extremist, we're just hemming them up now. It's not worth it. We don't want to take the risk. There are too many children being shot, all these assault rifles floating around. You know, we can't get legislation done to ban them. So we just can't have people like this running around.
Yeah, why would you have an AR-15 unless you're a domestic terrorist?
The only thing to do with it is kill people. So
That's
why
right.
else would you have it unless you want to kill people?
That's right. So we better take you out of society because you are a terrorist in the making. Don't even begin to look at the leftist terrorists that are legitimately firebombing
never.
Birthing clinics and the entirety where they
Like
burn down an
Deborah said.
entire fucking city.
Like Deborah said, 529, trying to burn down the church.
Yep.
Right? They're literally trying to get into the White House on May 29th, 2021. No, don't worry about that.
Yeah, nope.
Don't worry about that.
Don't say that.
No.
Don't worry that they lit it on fucking fire.
Shush.
Yeah. That's
Shush, shush.
and like I said, that's what really makes me uneasy about this stuff now is all it's going to take is one Supreme Court decision or two in the wrong direction and things will go sideways. And let me add this because we didn't talk about this yet, but there is also apparently a kind of a very solid Second Amendment case running through the Supreme Court right now, particularly I'm not that familiar with it. I've heard Tim Cass talk about it a little bit and a couple other shows, but it involves New York's essentially lack of ability to conceal carry, right? And how do you think a Supreme Court judge is going to vote on that issue if he just there was an attempted assassination on him and possibly his family?
Right.
The zip ties and duct tape doesn't say that he just was going in there to off one person.
If someone was prepared to break into his house and murder him and his family.
Yeah. And the massive protests outside of his house. How do you think he's going to rule on that thing now if his decision is going to be swayed some way? It's not going to go in your direction because you people are trying to kill him.
Literally.
How do you think he's going to fucking react? And that's, hey man, I hate to say it, but I mean, I'd be down for a nationwide, a Supreme Court ruling that says, hey, nationwide, you have the right to conceal carry, period. Constitutional carry. It's right there in the documents. Pretty short. It's an easy read. If that's what you want, that's a surefire way to get it. Terrify a fucking judge.
Yeah.
That'll do it. And there's all sorts of other judges that are getting murdered these days too, like
Wisconsin.
small time. Yeah,
Yep.
it's like small time. It's not good, man. This is the shit that makes me uneasy because there's only one direction this thing goes, man. I don't know how you turn it down.
No, 100%.
Whew. Now, I was going to talk a little bit about Elon and Twitter, but I feel like I want to save that for another day. It's kind of a big deal. It is an interesting thing. It's very interesting. At the end of every show. We used to do kind of a goofy line from a show where you guess the line and you might get a free T-shirt, but we've shifted now to a more powerful line being dropped at the end, and this is how we do it. Is the deal still going? I don't think we really doing that anymore.
I am not sure.
I feel like you kind of set the rules on that one though. I'm not about to overrule you.
I don't care if someone can. No, not yet. I would have to think of a new way to go about it because at this point I'm just telling people where they come from. So, it used to be from a particular show, and it was like if you could guess where the show comes from, then we'll send you a free T-shirt. And I'll send you this. Anybody who watched this show today, right? Anybody new who watched this show today, if you find me on Instagram, shouldn't be hard to do. If you go to our website, if you go to our own social media, all that stuff, if you find me on Instagram, you follow me on Instagram, I will send you a free T-shirt.
That's where you can do it right here.
I'll send you a free T-shirt. No cost, no nothing. I'll ship it to you myself from work, from my own work, where Colin and I work together.
Whoop, whoop.
I'll send you a free t-shirt. 100%. No questions asked. So you find me on Instagram, you hit me with the follow, you hit me up in the DMs. I will send you a free t-shirt.
Yeah.
No question. So, is there anything else that you want to add to this episode? This has been a fucking great episode.
It has been. No,
So-
I'm good with this one.
So before we close, I want to last comment Bilbo Swaggins. Look at the Reichstag fire. Oh, we are well acquainted.
Oh, yeah.
We are well acquainted.
acquainted.
So I want to thank everybody who watched
Everybody.
this today. This has been a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank
everybody
you,
who
guys.
followed. Make sure, excuse me, sorry. You tell everybody about it. Like, comment. Everyone has been doing that. Subscribe, share this. Tell everyone about it. There will be lots more content over the next few weeks. You can find all of our stuff. Obviously, we're at Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, all these things at Salt of the Streets. We have saltofthestreets.com for all the information, including our personal social media. I'm at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. That's all you need. Find me. Follow me. Hit me with the DMs. It's all yours. Colin is a Big Bird off you on both of those things. Make sure that you go to the Patreon, you become a patron, help us make more, better content just like this. Get the newsletters, all those things. It's fantastic. Swell Blended for these haircuts. Location Skate Shop for a skateboard. Lexi Kyle on Twitch for some video games.
She'll be
And of
streaming later
course-
tonight.
That's right. Of course, leggings and aprons on Instagram. So, this is from... Oh, Jesus Christ. That's not the right thing. you have to vamp for a minute. That's so funny.
I will just say on a personal note, thank you guys for hanging out. It's been amazing to have everybody active in the chat. Bilbo Swaggins, Deborah. I mean, of course, the returning William fucking Wallace. Freedom extraordinaire right there. Everybody, thank you. Zeke, my main man right there. Great show today, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. Can I ask Donovan, what book are you looking at anyways?
This book that I'm looking at currently, this is The Coddling of the American Mind.
Oh,
and I'm
perfect.
looking for...
By Jonathan Haidt.
yes.
And another guy that I don't quite remember off the top of my head. It's a great book, though. I got that shit on Audible.
Greg Lukianoff.
Lukianoff, that's
Yes.
right.
So I'm looking for... There's a quote here that is actually from Chief Justice John Roberts from a speech that he gave. It was a commencement speech. And so I'm looking for this because it was so perfect. And I thought that I had it marked off.
Fucking
in
books,
here.
man. They're
And-
big. And they're hard to... It's hard to find, like, key features in books to be able to come back to.
Yeah.
Sticky notes are a
So
wonder.
that's my fault. I'm really sorry that.
That's all right. And I'm going to go ahead and just tell you how much I've enjoyed going back to work with you this week. It's been fantastic. First full week. We're back together. The team's together. First time, actually, we've worked together when we actually did the show. It's been an interesting thing.
Yeah.
For those of you who are new here, a little bit of background on Donovan and I. We used to work together back at the same spot we work now. I left for about 5 years and just recently came back. But funny enough, we never really had these types of conversations too deeply when we were there. We got into a few little things, but we found, we work right across tables. We're like, I don't know, 12 feet apart. Those are long-ass tables. But, we work real close to each other. And so we found out, we were listening to some of the same podcasts and some of the normal, what we call daily shows. The NPR podcast, Start Here, like all these various different things. Then we discussed some of the things that were happening, and it wasn't until after I left that we were like texting back and forth, and we're like, man, we should just just grab a microphone and then just record these conversations, and then boom. How many years we've been doing this now? 4 years now.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank God.
do it.
You're great. Okay, so in June 2017, John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States, was invited to be the commencement speaker at his son's graduation from middle school. Like Van Jones, who was quoted earlier in the book, Roberts understands anti-fragility. He wishes for his son's classmates to have the sorts of painful experiences that will make them better people and better citizens. Here is an excerpt from his speech. From time to time in the years to come, I hope you will be treated unfairly, so that you will come to know the value of justice. I hope that you will suffer betrayal because that will teach you the importance of loyalty. Sorry to say, but I hope you will be lonely from time to time so that you don't take friends for granted. I wish you had bad luck again from time to time so that you will be conscious of the role of chance in life and understand that your success is not completely deserved and that the failure of others is not completely deserved either. When you lose, as you will from time to time, I hope every now and then your opponent will gloat over your failure. It is a way for you to understand the importance of sportsmanship. I hope you will be ignored so you know the importance of listening to others, and I hope you will have just enough pain to learn compassion. Whether I wish these things or not, they're going to happen, and whether you benefit from them or not will depend upon your ability to see the message in your misfortunes.
Powerful words from Chief Justice John Roberts.
you,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys. Bye.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought.